Welcome back. This is All in Survival, and today we're going to talk about firearms. It's pretty hard not to talk about firearms when you're talking about preparedness in general. There are many different firearms out there, and there's many different ways to think about firearms. But when I started getting into preparedness, there was a couple of things that were pretty obvious to me. There's always going to be people who debate about what's the best rifles and all that stuff. But there's also going to be people who agree that certain types of rifles and certain platforms are better for certain types of activities. Today, we're going to talk about a few that I think are some of the best and do with it as you please. I'm not one to try and force people to think one way or the other. I'm just giving you information. All right. All right. Firearms and prepping. It's a complicated topic. But the first thing you need to think about when it comes to preparedness is protecting your home, yourself, and your family, right? You got to start with a pistol, right? And you got to learn how to use it. So it's not difficult to go in the United States and buy a firearm if you're a law-abiding citizen. This is America. We do love our firearms. That being said, if you've gotten this far into preparedness and you don't have a firearm, I highly suggest you learn how to use one to protect yourself. You could buy 5 years worth of food, medical supplies up the wazoo, and everything you could possibly think of for your bunker. And if you have no way to protect yourself, somebody will take it from you. All right? So there's that. The next thing is thinking about the utility of the actual tool. All right? People have a love affair with firearms, but it's just a tool. You have to be the weapon. Your mindset has to be, I will use any tool to protect yourself, right? So it's just a tool, right? Put money into it where you believe makes a better tool. Try not to use just looks. I have to profess that I have bought parts for firearms just because I think they look great, not because they're better in any one way or another. But when you're first getting into this, understand that your perception of what's you're looking at may change. So get something that works and then move on to what's pretty. All right. Next thing is when it comes to rifles, they're all different, right? So you have battle rifles and you have shotguns, which are great for home defense. And then you have 22s, which are great for being out in the open and, if you needed to eat squirrels and rabbits and all that stuff, you really don't want to use an AR for that. You wouldn't be much left when you're done. So they have their place in the preparedness realm. So arguing about what's just better, it's just kind of a waste of time. When I first got into preparedness, I did a lot of research. I went to the local gun store. I was making $12 an hour at the time, many years ago. And I gave the guy $300 and said, hey, I want to buy this AR. And I came back every payday until it was mine. Do what you got to do, right? Make a decision and move forward. On any budget, there is a firearm out there that you can be had, even if it's a used one. All right. So when it comes to, we'll talk about battle rifles last because they have their own special place. When it comes to preparedness, take care of yourself. And I'm going to say either Glock 17 or 19, right? And the reason is that they're Toyotas, they're Hondas, they're never going to break down. They almost never have a failure, and that's what's most important when protecting yourself. No failures, right? Let the failure be your lack of training and nothing else. That being said, First thing you do after you buy a brand new firearm is buy as much ammo as you can and get out and practice. I know it's expensive, it's tough times, but that tool means nothing if you don't know how to use it, okay? All right, now, utility. So, what is the most utilitarian firearm out there? It's arguable, but in my opinion, it's the Ruger 1022. It's my Ruger 1022. I've had it probably 10, 11 years. It's not always looked like this. It's now at the point where it's pretty, but it didn't start off that way. All right. I've got a 1-4 quick throw, so I can work with no optic or with no power and all the way up to 4. It's got a few extras, but for the most part, it's just a utility tool. This is a very good tool for taking out if you needed to live or bug out or something like that. If you only had this, you'd be doing okay. There are many times in conversations I've said, I'd rather have a Boy Scout that was good with this than Joe Snuffy, the auto salesman down the block, who has a $2,000 rifle, but he's never put more than 50 rounds through it. To be honest, I don't want that guy next to me. So get something and train. All right. Now, when it comes to the Ruger, you are only as good as the person behind the sights, right? With that particular rifle. That particular rifle has been known to drop humans, right? If you had to protect yourself, shot placement, and you could, would I want to? Not necessarily, but it can be done, right? So everything from a small deer, the two-legged varmints, all the way down to the smallest, critter, that thing is great. So consider, you can get one brand new for about $250, and you can buy 2,000 rounds for less than that, and go out and practice to your heart's content. All right, now we're going to talk about a tactical or a combat rifle, right? What do we mean by a combat rifle? Now, I'm not going to say something like it's a tactical blah, 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 this and that. Basically, what it is a capable rifle in the hands of somebody who knows it. So what are the basics of tactical or combat rifles in today's environment? An AK, a SCAR, some HKs out there. You've got all of the variants of the ARs. If you live overseas, you have access to many others, but those 4 or 5 pretty much what's generalized in the US. You'll see people that have some stuff in their closet that you're like, whoa, that's interesting. Are you really going to use that? Or what happens if you run out of ammo? You're never going to see another magazine. If you lose your last magazine, you'll never see another one. This is why in the United States, we stick mostly with ARs, because 2 million soldiers have been overseas and they've used them. I spent years carrying one. I know the ins and outs of that rifle. All right, now we're going to talk about ARs. Everybody's got an AR, right? This one happens to be mine. There are many like it, but this one is mine. It's changed the way it's looked over the years, and it's clear, right? No ammunition in the room. It's all in the safe. Anyways, this one is a 10.5-inch Seekins barrel cut down. It's got an OSS suppressor. So right then and there, this makes it kind of a special rifle because I need 2 tax stamps to be able to own this rifle. It's a short barrel rifle and it has a dedicated suppressor on it. So just to start off, I had to give out $400 just for the paperwork for the government, right? And all the background checks. Then after that, Trijicon, Rainy Arms, Magpul, many different things on this rifle that I love. It's even got a law folder, right? So it folds down. You can shoot the first round. It collapsed, but after that, you would have to recharge. It's got an ergo grip that's pretty. It's well worn in. Extended mag release. Got a bad lever. I also keep a tourniquet on my rifle. A trick I learned from a very experienced warfighter many years ago. And yeah, anyways, I also keep this light on here. It's not my favorite light, but it easily switches back and forth from an IR light to a white light, which is incredibly important, especially if you happen to have NVGs, right? If you can go from white light to IR quickly, it's a huge bonus. All right, well, I've been stalling on doing firearms in this channel because I don't want everybody to think that when you first get into preparedness, your first goal should be buy a bunch of firearms and ammo. People do that all the time, right? I'll be honest, when I first started, it's what's sexy, it's what's cool. So, but I'm telling you, this is not if you have a pistol and you are learning how to use it or you know how to use it, move on. Make sure that your pantry, your medical supplies are stocked up before you spend thousands of dollars on firearms, okay? God forbid you buy a bunch of firearms, something happens or kicks off, and you can't feed your family for more than a couple of weeks, right? What has that just done? To be honest, in my opinion, that's just turned you into a bad guy. Because if you have no food and you have a family, you're going to be forced to go out and do things that you wouldn't like to do, or that you said now you wouldn't do. That being said, stock up on your food, make your pantry as deep as you can, and then when things happen, you can trade and you can be generous, right? Give until it hurts. Don't be taken advantage of. Don't give a free ride, but people can work for food. It's pretty easy. All right. If you have any questions, by all means, hit me up in the comments. If you've learned anything, just anything, like and subscribe, please. It'll help me out. I think we're going to talk about ammunition and how you should stage it and how much, you know, that old question, how much is too much or how much is enough for SHTF, for, you know, whatever the case may be. All right, well, bye for now and stay safe out there.